Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show.
You meet someone online and there's this instant connection. It's amazing how much the two of you just seem to click. They live somewhere far away and there's some plausible reason they can't travel to meet you. They tell you they're in love with you and you feel optimistic for the first time in a long time. They have a successful career, yet somehow they need money from you to solve a short-term problem, always with the promise of paying you back. Time goes on and they need more money more urgently. You've started to see the cracks and begin to wonder whether they've been lying this whole time. All of a sudden it hits you. You've been scammed. Fool Me Twice is the story of my mother, Jules Hannaford, a woman who was drawn into the dangerous world of sweetheart scams. After a trip overseas to meet a stranger, a dangerous altercation in a Manchester hotel room, and thousands of pounds lost for good, she's here to tell her story. Fool Me Twice, a true crime podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Ozcast Network, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Today I'm here with Kitty Wong. Hi Kitty, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Jules. Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. Kitty, were you born and raised in Hong Kong?
Well, yes and no. So I was born in Hong Kong, but when I was 8, me and my family moved over to Vancouver. We actually moved to a really tiny suburb outside of Vancouver. So that's where I grew up. And I went to university in Toronto.
Oh, and then when did you come back to Hong Kong?
After uni, I came back. I did my degree in fashion design. And then after I graduated, I wasn't really doing anything. And then my mom was like, why don't you come back? Like, we're here. You can come and visit us. And maybe you could get a job here. And that's how I ended up staying.
Why did you decide to do fashion design? And is that unusual for Asian parents to let their child do fashion design at university?
My parents are actually pretty relaxed. So like when I was younger, I really liked fashion and like makeup and shopping and stuff. I think my mom kind of like gave up. She almost thought like I wouldn't even go to university. The fact that I like went and pursued going to university on my own, I think she was already happy with that, even though it's like for design, which is not the number one thing that Asian parents think of.
Yeah, sure. And I have to apologize because I was completely stereotyping then. But it's kind of a logical question when you have lived in Asia for so long. Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned some of your hobbies as a child. What were some of your other hobbies?
My mom always put me in like different lessons. We did like music lessons and dance lessons. And the only two things that I would sit still for was drawing lessons and also dance lessons, because dance, you don't need to sit still.
You really were very creative from a young age.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of it like that back then, but those are just the things I enjoyed doing.
And then did you realize that you had some artistic talent when you were young? Obviously, you must have had a bit of a clue because you went to study fashion design at uni. When did you realize that you could really draw?
I think it wasn't until I was in high school. When I was a little kid, when I first moved to Canada, I didn't speak English. That was the way I communicated with people in my class, my peers. I don't remember this, but my friends told me this when I first moved over. I wouldn't know how to say hi, but I would draw pictures. And then my friends would be like, oh, can you draw me a picture of a rabbit? And then I would draw that for them. And then like that would be my way of making friends.
Oh, how cool. You really had a skill at a young age.
But I think I didn't think so. Because when I went to art lessons, like, I always thought the other students are better than me. But maybe in like the normal classroom, I might have been more into it. But then in like art class, like I was not as good as what I thought as the other kids.
When you came to Hong Kong, you decided to become an artist or an illustrator?
Actually, when I first came to Hong Kong, because I finished my degree in fashion design, I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. And my first job was an assistant fashion designer. But I was not very good at this job because being a fashion designer, when I was younger, I just thought it'd be like, oh, just sketching the clothes and like fashion shows and stuff. But really, it's not. It's like about going to the factory and like chasing after the factory and the client. So you're basically just like liaising between the client and the factory to like get these products made. I was not very good at this part of it. I actually, on my first job, I got fired. So that's how I began my path as a illustrator.
And is there a difference between an illustrator and an artist?
I mean, they're quite similar. I try to explain it to people like, oh, maybe it's someone that's like a reporter and then someone who's a writer. A reporter is like, they are doing writing, but it's sort of, there's like a brief and then you're writing about a specific topic. Obviously, you're also a writer, but then sometimes I feel like if I tell people, oh, I'm an artist, it seems a bit pretentious. But if I'm doing it for a client, then it's definitely illustration. But if I do it for myself, then you could say that's artist or like just making art.
Oh, cool. That makes sense. And then after you got fired from your job as a fashion designer, how did your career evolve in Hong Kong then? What was next?
Well, what was next? My job, actually, I got fired, but I was also dealing with a hyperthyroid. So I spent some time just taking some time off to recuperate from that.
Can I interrupt and ask,
Sure.
what impact did hyperthyroidism have on you? How did that affect your health?
Hyperthyroid, it like everything, all your organs are sort of like running on overtime. So for me, I would get sweaty all the time. I got really bad anxiety from it as well. Your heart beats too quickly and then like you're kind of shaking.
Oh, right. I think I need to get checked for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really hot,
I'm
like,
always really hot, but it's
yeah.
menopause, I think.
Oh, that would do as well. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But still, it's always worth getting these things checked, isn't it? Because I've certainly had anxiety coming on in the last few years. I kind of have it under control through yoga, but
It's hard.
it is. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. And I think around that time, people's thyroid level can change. So it's usually like around university time and also maybe around like menopause time. So you could get it checked.
Oh, I think I will.
Yeah.
Thank you for inspiring me because I'm often sweaty too. Okay, you had that sort of recuperation time. And then what happened next?
And then I joined a fashion design contest. And luckily, I got into the semi-final stages. That was a really good way for me to really try to do this like fashion design thing. And I realized like just through the contest, I didn't actually like sewing the clothes and making the clothes, but I love like drawing and designing it. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe fashion design isn't really for me, even though that's what I dreamed about when I was a little kid. And I just thought, okay, well, why don't I just try this other career called Illustrator that I never thought about before, but it's just more about the drawing. So I gave that a try. And then at first, I just started like telling people I was an illustrator, even though like I've never had any clients or no one's ever paid me. I just draw pictures. And then I met this one woman and she was having a dinner party. And then she was like, oh, why don't you draw the invites for me? So we did like a trade. And that was my first job as an illustrator.
Fantastic. And then from there, what happened? Have you always been freelance?
Yeah, I like to call myself like my own business. My own business. It's like my boutique illustration business. I don't know why, but like freelance sounds like I could go out of business any second or like stop doing it.
Yeah. And then what type of illustrations do you typically do?
Mostly they're for fashion clients and beauty clients. It's for advertising. So I did a campaign for Maybelline before, and then they use my illustrations in their printed ads. And also when you go into like Watson's or something where it advertises the product, like the price stickers, my illustrations were there as well. So that was really cool.
Oh, congratulations. That's very cool. And then was it kind of like through word of mouth? Like, is that how your sort of client base grew?
Yes.
And did you have to push yourself a lot or do you use social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I think in Hong Kong, it's kind of good because the creative community is fairly small here. So word of mouth does really help me. But also you have to always be easy to work with because, you know, if you're really difficult, the word of mouth would get around as well.
You could get blacklisted.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely used social media a lot. I think a lot of people find me through social media. When I was first getting started, I emailed potential clients and I also posted a lot on like Twitter and Instagram about my work.
Oh, right. Great. And do you have a big following on Instagram?
When I was first getting started, I probably had like 50 people follow me, but then now it's like around 4,000. So if I think of it, me first starting, I would never think I could get to this point. But then when I think about it now, I'm like, oh my God, other people have so many more. Like I need to get there. So I think you can never feel satisfied.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of social media.
Yeah, for sure.
We're never satisfied and we keep wanting more. But that's amazing to have 4,000 followers.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. Congratulations. I've been doing this for 3 years and I've only got 800. Hong Kong Confidential listeners.
Tag you.
Follow me on Instagram. Yeah, you tag me. So what sort of skills do you need to be an illustrator, do you think? Obviously, you need some art skills, but what other sort of skills?
Most important is art skills, but also I think it's also like people skills because you have to work with your client, right? So say the art director is like, oh, can you draw this? And then an artist would just draw like a picture of a cat and then just give it to them and they would never change it. But then because this is for your client, so your client might have some feedback for you, but you have your own ideas of how you want it to be. So you have to be flexible, but try to stick to your guns, but also in a friendly way.
How many times might you typically have to revise a piece of work for somebody? What would be the average amount of times?
I think usually it's like 1 or 2 times. Unless there was like a major misunderstanding, I think usually I can kind of guess what the client is thinking or wanting.
That's a skill in itself, isn't it?
I develop that more and more.
And do you think you need to have patience because it can be very sort of time consuming and quite fine motor skills and things like that?
When I was first getting started, there's always this point, like you have this idea of the artwork in your mind and then you start drawing it and okay, it looks good. But then there's kind of like an ugly phase, this hump in the drawing and you're like, oh, it looks really bad now, but I've already spent an hour. And then you kind of feel like giving up. But I think it's just that like you have to push through. And then once you finish and you're like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought, it's pretty good.
Did you have to learn to do that? Because I remember when my daughter was doing art, she'd do this amazing stuff and not like it and throw it in the bin. And I'd be like, don't throw it away, keep it.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about the patience. Obviously, it's not going to be like 100% when you're finished. So you kind of have to like tweak it a little bit so you can accept it. You have to change it so you don't hate it and then be able to accept it so you can post it online and share it with other people, or else people will never see it and they'll never comment on it and never get to see your work.
Do you not only work for clients, but you also do your own just drawings and things like that and post them to try and build your brand?
Exactly. Probably my most famous artwork is the Hong Kong street food artwork. And that one I actually just made for myself, but then it just got really popular.
Wow. So where has that been picked up?
That one, I sell it on my Etsy store and then it's just a lot of people buy it as a print or like as the art on stationery. And that has just been so popular. I've like shipped it out to like the US, Australia, and Europe and stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's absolutely so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. And it's so Hong Kong, which brings me to my next question, which is, do you find inspiration in Hong Kong and your childhood memories and the art that you do?
For sure. I think most of my artwork is like from just things I remember as a kid. And then I kind of want to recapture those memories because even like the Hong Kong street food, nowadays, you kind of have to go to specific areas to eat the street food. But when I was a kid, it was so much more prevalent. So when I draw it, it's just kind of to remind myself like, oh, this is what I liked as a little kid. And like, hopefully other people will like it as well, or they'll be reminded of how it felt when they were kids.
What other iconic things do you draw in Hong Kong in particular, like Star Ferry?
Yeah, I just finished an illustration inspired by the Star Ferry, the sailors. I've always wanted to do something inspired by the Star Ferry because it's so iconic, but I never really knew how to make it kind of fashiony in my style. And then one day I noticed the sailor costumes actually really cool. And I did a fashion illustration, like a girl, this really cool girl got a job at the Star Ferry. What would she look like? And then she's kind of like a Barbie and there's like little accessories beside her. So there's like the life preserver and like the anchor. And she's wearing her fabulous uniform, of course.
Oh, how cool. And what else? Like, have you done the Peak Tram or anything else like that? Or
that's coming up because there's like the Star Ferry. So next I want to do maybe like the girl is a driver on the tram along the Central and Wan Chai. And also, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but when I was little, my grandma used to get propane for her stove. So
The gas
yeah,
bottles?
the gas bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the delivery driver will be like biking and he'll deliver those gas canisters. So that's the next job that the character I've developed will get.
So it's nice that you've developed this character then that you can then put in creative places around Hong Kong. That's so cool, isn't it?
Kind of like a Barbie.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you love most about beauty and fashion?
I don't know. I just something I always loved, even when I was a little kid. Like I always thought ladies on the street, I'd be like, oh, they look so glamorous and like they look so pretty. So I don't know. I just always liked it.
And do you have a mentor or anybody that you admire?
There's a lot of artists that I admire and like I follow on Instagram, but also like for my work, I have quite a few friends from university and also some friends I've made here. And then we meet up or we'll just like have a Facebook group or something to kind of encourage each other and then help each other if we have like some problems with our work and stuff. So that's really helped me a lot.
And what are some of your career highlights?
My career highlights, I think, was doing the Today at Apple talk. They invited me to do a workshop and talk at their flagship store in Causeway Bay. And it was so crazy. Like,
Oh my gosh, how cool.
I'm a very nervous person, so I hate like doing public speaking and stuff, but they were so amazing. I did so many meetings with them and they really helped me develop the workshop and develop the speech that I was going to give. But even then, it was like so scary for me. And I really felt like, oh, I'm jumping into the deep end here, but I'm proud of this achievement.
That's great. So what did you do in the workshop and what did you talk about?
I shared my illustration journey. So how I got here, a little bit about like my health problems and also about how I got started as an illustrator. And then I also gave a workshop to everyone. So everyone had their iPads that the Apple Store lets you borrow. And I taught them how to draw their own portrait, their little self-portrait. And it's inspired by like a food item. So people came up with their own portrait, but with pineapple bun or like with fish balls.
Oh,
It's
how
really
cool. So can you draw on an iPad?
Yeah. So
Look at me, I'm so not tech savvy.
yeah, actually, I can draw on an iPad, but I usually just draw on pen and paper and then I'll scan it and then do a little touch up on Photoshop. So I'm a bit old school that way.
But you knew enough to be able to teach them how to do it on the iPad, did you?
Because Apple's just so amazing, their team. So they actually did a session with me to teach me how to use the iPad. So they had a lot of support and it was really amazing.
And how did you get that job? Like, how did that come up?
Well, I think they reached out to a lot of different artists in Hong Kong and the woman that runs this program. So she reached out to me and I knew her just from different design events in Hong Kong. And then when she reached out to me, I was like, me? Are you sure I can do it? Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. So it just shows the power of networking, doesn't it?
It
And
really
how if you
does.
get yourself out there and make yourself known, any opportunity can come about.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's like the trifecta of being successful as an illustrator. It's like you've got the art skills. Then second, you've got how you like interact with people. Then third's like marketing.
Right. Yes. So that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Well, we connected through Virginia from with a chance of
Yes,
fishballs. So have you drawn for her company?
No, but we've been thinking about doing some like YouTube videos or something. So maybe you guys have to keep your eye out on for those.
Yeah, great. So there's more creative ideas in the works.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. And what are some of the greatest challenges that you've faced in your career, do you think?
I think just working as in the arts is quite difficult. But I think I do start to think that, oh, I'm in my 30s now. Like later, if I want to have a family, I want to buy a house, like, I do worry like, oh, is an art career going to be able to support all of that? Because, houses are so expensive in Hong Kong and education is so expensive in Hong Kong.
It is, that's true. And I guess as I've got the word freelancer in my head, but what did you call it?
I just call it like
A boutique
like,
artist.
it's just my own business, my small business.
Yeah, small business owner. There you
Yeah.
go. As a girl boss,
Yeah.
I guess you don't have that regular promise of an income.
Yeah.
So you can be living from job to job.
Exactly.
And do you find that stressful?
Well, it's okay for now because in Hong Kong, I still live with my family. So it helps like takes the edge off because like I know I'm not going to be like thrown out on the streets or anything. And I do try to save up and stuff like that. But I think hopefully I'll try to buy my own place or something. When you have your mortgage like every month, they will be a lot more stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Can you ever see yourself working for somebody and having a regular job or a regular wage, I should say?
Yeah. Well, because, I've had a lot of teachers as well, like in fashion design school. I had a lot of the professors, they had their own fashion design brand, but they teach as well part-time. So I think like I could see myself doing that. Or when I was a kid, I had an art teacher and then she had her art school running out of her basement when I was a kid, and I loved going to her art school. So yeah, there's all
There you
these-
go. You could start a little art school, couldn't you?
totally.
Yeah, and have your regular clients.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's all about the hustle. So I feel like now I'm like hustling as an illustrator, but then if I want to get more serious, I need to like also hustle as an educator as well.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. And I guess at the moment with COVID and social distancing, it's a little bit hard to think about starting something like that. But hopefully things will change soon. And so you'll have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Have you ever met any famous people or been at any iconic events?
I met any? I have like drawn some famous people. So a really large Parisian fashion brand asked me to draw a portrait of Karina Lau. She's an actress in Hong Kong and she's very beautiful. So I got to draw a portrait of her. And then she actually posted it on her Instagram, which I was pretty excited
Oh, what an honor.
Yeah.
But you did that from a photograph.
Yes, from a photo.
Have you ever drawn somebody from sitting, like having them sitting in front of you, or do you usually
Yes.
draw from photos?
Yeah, so sometimes brands will hire me for their events. It's called live drawing. So I'll set up a little station at a party or their like VIP events, and then the VIPs can come or celebrities can come and sit down and get a portrait done. And I'm really fast, so it only takes like 5 minutes or something.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Wow, that's so cool. I want you to do me.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. It's really fast.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a good little party favor because everyone wants to see like, oh, their picture, right?
Yeah, that'll be so cool. Okay, great. We'll swap a picture and thing
Okay.
for the book.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you my book.
Perfect.
That's so cool. Do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome or have a crisis of confidence? You kind of mentioned with the Apple job that you felt like, can I do it? Was that one example?
Yeah, I think ever since I did that Apple job, it's really helped me because they are such a big and huge, amazing company. And also, I overcame this challenge. It really helps me to think about it like, oh, I did that, so I can do it again. But yeah, I think I used to get imposter syndrome a lot more when I first started. But now it's like the more I've done it, the more confident I feel. But at the beginning of projects, I do sometimes like worry. But as soon as I can get my first sketch done or like start drawing a little bit, then I will feel much more confident.
I think I'm the same with podcasting as well. I sort of felt a bit like that. And I think it's very common. And you have to kind of push through it, don't you? And just keep going and believe in yourself. And the confidence will grow, which is really nice. And have you ever had to cope with rejection or criticism?
Yeah, for sure. Like a lot of the sketches or like some of the projects that I give to my clients, maybe they won't pick the sketch that I wanted. So they'll pick a different one. Or sometimes the projects will get killed because, budgeting problems or whatever. So there's a lot of small little rejections. But I think it's just about maybe having like a few projects on the go and then the rejection won't sting as much.
And do you think it gets easier every time something goes wrong or there's a little rejection? Do you think you cope with it better and better?
For sure, because maybe at first I only had 3 projects in my portfolio. So one project getting rejected is huge, but then now maybe I've got like 30 or more. And so one project, I'm like, oh, okay, it kind of sucks. I wish I could have done that too, but I'm sure I'll get the next one,
And you're able to move on.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. And are you passionate about any social issues?
Yeah, actually, I am. So during the beginning of COVID, my emails and everything were so quiet. I didn't have any client projects for many months. So I had a lot of free time and I read an article about in Hong Kong, like the homelessness problem was getting really serious. And then because of the lockdown, the McDonald's and other like 24-hour restaurants weren't even able to keep open. So the people that don't have homes, sometimes they spend the night there, right? And they weren't even able to do that. So a lot of people were sleeping out on the streets. And I felt so, I don't know, because I just try to imagine myself in their shoes. And I thought, if you're on the streets and you're not getting a good night's sleep, like your mental health, that would really suffer as well as your physical body. And then I thought, oh, what can I do about that? And I was like, well, I'm not working that much right now, so I can't really donate money, but I can donate my time. So I started this portrait for charity project. And then I did portraits for people for, I can't remember how much it was, but maybe 600 Hong Kong dollars. And then I would take that money and donate it. So I donated my time basically.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
And would you donate it to Impact Hong Kong?
Yeah, so I donated, we were able to donate about 10,000
Wow.
Hong Kong dollars.
Oh,
for
Kitty,
Impact.
that's amazing.
you.
Good for
Yeah.
you. That's absolutely brilliant.
I felt like so happy that I could turn this like quiet time in my career into like something useful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so nice, isn't it? That's kind of like one of the silver linings of all of this difficulty that we've all been facing at the moment. Some good has come out of it, whether it's been people having more time for themselves or looking at their well-being or you giving back to the community. It's really good, isn't it? It's great. Tell me a bit about your award that you won.
Okay, my award, it's from Perspective magazine, and they named me one of the 40 under 40 creative people in the city to look out for.
Oh, how cool.
That was really amazing. It actually came as a surprise. I think one of their editors nominated me, but she didn't tell me. And then when they told me that, oh, you won, I was like, what? Oh, like, I was so like, oh, amazing.
Oh, so you won like the top one out of 40.
No, it's just like
There was loads and
Yeah.
then you were selected in the 40.
Yeah, so it's just each year they name 40 people. I think this is 2015, so they named me one of the 40 people.
Oh,
that year.
congratulations
Yeah, thank
again.
you.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. How long have you been in Hong Kong illustrating?
I think maybe 7. Yeah.
Okay, so that's amazing. You got recognized quite early then in your
Yeah.
career in Hong Kong.
Yeah, but I think I would love to get more of those awards, but that one came as a surprise. But now I have entered some other ones and I haven't gotten them yet. So hopefully I can get
Fingers
some more.
crossed for
Yeah.
you. Fingers crossed. Don't give up. Yeah, every now and again you'll get a positive result.
Yeah.
So keep trying.
Yeah.
Has it been difficult to get to the place you're in today with all the recognition for your work? Like I was looking at your webpage, you've had loads of media articles or obviously illustrated for loads of media articles. I was so impressed. I'm like, wow,
Oh, thank
Kitty's amazing. Yeah.
I think it looks really amazing like on the website or also like on my Instagram. Like sometimes people will tell me that, but I think you have to keep it in mind that like, oh, this is what I've accumulated over 6 or 7 years. So these are just all my highlights, right? I think it's just about like every day trying a little bit and showing up. So I think if anyone's listening, they want to become an artist or illustrator, like don't let people's success deter you because they're just achieving this over time. So you don't need to do this in like 10 days or anything.
Yeah, and it's about not comparing yourself to others, isn't it? Because we're all on our own journey and success is different to different people. And I think that's really important to remember. And so many, well, actually, not even young people, we all compare ourselves to others,
Totally,
don't we?
Yeah. We're all young at heart.
Yeah, we're all young at heart. See, now I love you. Yeah, so it is a thing you've got to catch yourself and run
Oh,
your own
yeah.
race. Stay in your own lane, be true to yourself and just not really get into that sort of comparison
Yeah,
thing because
yeah.
it can be demoralizing.
Totally. I still do it all the time. Like when I scroll through Instagram and stuff, like, oh my God, I want to live in Bali. I want to live in Hawaii, you know? Yeah.
We're lucky to live in Hong Kong
Yes,
though, aren't we? Yeah. What are some of the key things that you've learned running a business as a creative in Hong Kong?
I think for me, it was definitely about learning how to take the criticism from clients or whoever, right? And then just learning to be flexible and kind of make the changes, but also like keep my own style, but then also like be flexible.
And what about as a young woman? Has that been an issue for you just with having to meet with clients and things like that? Do people take you seriously?
I think for me, I've been quite lucky because I'm working in sort of like in the media and design. So
Anything goes a bit.
Yeah.
There's not really a stereotype,
Yeah.
is there? So that's good. It'd be different if you were in finance, for example.
Yeah. I think it kind of helps me to be a young woman in this kind of media world because then they're like, oh, maybe they'll want to like take your photo and put it in an article or something, or oh, they'll like your outfits or my outfits, you know.
Yeah. What inspires you?
What inspires me, like for my art or just for life?
Just for yourself, for life.
I don't know, just like what inspires me? I don't know, just trying to live better every day. Just try my best every day. And, you know, we're only on earth for a short amount of time. And I just want to make sure that I can give it my best and do as much as I can while I'm here. And, I don't want to regret it when I'm like 90 years old and, oh, why didn't I do this? Because I was too embarrassed or shy to reach out to somebody, right?
Yeah, that's great. Live your best life.
Yes.
I love it. Do you feel shy or embarrassed sometimes? Or is that something that you had to deal with when you were younger?
It is. Like, I think when people meet me, they don't really think that.
No, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, but I do. Like, sometimes when I was a teenager, we always had this joke. We would just make fun of things and be like, oh, that's so embarrassing. But I think like inside, I really did think like things are embarrassing,
Yeah, I just think as we get older, we just become a bit more comfortable in our own skin and with our skills and talents and things like that, don't we? So that's nice. What are your favorite art mediums to work with?
I love working with gouache. So usually...
What? What's that?
So a gouache is a type of watercolor, but it's opaque. Actually, in university, I hated this medium called gouache because my first year uni instructor made us use this. And then we were like, oh, what is this? I want to use acrylic. I don't like this gouache. But I don't know why. Now I love it because when I paint portraits and stuff with gouache, the color is so flat. It kind of looks like, when you put powder on your face, it kind of looks like that. It has a very powdery look.
It's really nice. I can see what you're talking about in some of the work that I've seen that you've done. Yeah, it's really beautiful. If you could be anything in the world, regardless of your skills and talents, what would you be?
I think I would probably still do the same thing, but maybe I would like have a TV show about it, or I would like live in Hawaii and do scuba diving or something. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a TV show called, his name is Ando. He's a Vietnamese artist who went on a boat to Australia and immigrated in the boat people, I think. I think I'm allowed to say that. Yeah. That's what he was. And he is an artist who just has a television show.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, where he has people sit down.
Yeah.
He talks about their story. So he draws out all this interesting stuff about their lives while he draws them, and he does the most amazing, amazing pictures.
Oh, I have to look that up.
You will love it. Yeah. You'll really love it. If you remind me, I'll try and find a link to it to send it to you. It's brilliant.
My dream job.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's why I thought of it. You could aspire to do something like that in Hong Kong. You should then pitch it.
Yeah.
Put it together and pitch it to TV stations.
I should.
Yeah. Come on.
If they reject it, who cares?
Yeah. Just keep pitching until you find someone. What advice would you have for anyone hoping to become an illustrator? So you gave us a bit of advice earlier, but what other advice would you have?
I think because now like social media is so popular, I think it's quite easy to get started. I see a lot of young illustrators right now, like they will paint and then they'll post their work online. I think that is the main thing. So I would just make sure I paint a lot, post it online, and also like reach out to people I want to work with. So say different magazines or newspapers or like ad agencies. I think really that's all there is to it. And also like don't give up. Like you just have to keep trying.
Absolutely. And run your own race.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. And Kitty, what are your hopes for the future?
Well, hopefully I'll be like Anne Dow and have my own drawing TV show. Yeah.
I think we're going to make it happen. We're manifesting it here right now. Yeah. Okay, Kitty, so thank you so much for meeting with me today and sharing your story as an illustrator with me. It's been so interesting. I really, really appreciate it. And it's so lovely to meet you. And thank you for my lovely little gifts that you've given me. They're beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me on here. This is amazing. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. And for my listeners out there, if this is something that you've enjoyed, please take a minute to go to iTunes to rate and review us. And that will help Hong Kong Confidential get up the charts, and it will help people find Kitty and her Instagram page and her webpage. Can you tell us what they are?
Sure. Well, if you want to keep up with my daily drawings, you can follow me on Instagram at kittynwong.com. And then also my website is kittynwong.com.
Great. Fantastic. So I'll put links to your Instagram and your webpage in the show notes. And thanks again. It's been an amazing pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi, Confidants. I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.